Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This is Rhit Moore, current secretary and past master of Fort Worth 148.
Grant Gates, current junior warden with 148.
And Gabriel Jagush, Master Mason with Fort Worth Lodge 148. And we have a special guest today.
My name is Corey Harris. I am the senior warden and worshipful master-elect of Arlington Lodge number 438.
Good to have you on the show, Corey.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to be here.
So it caught my ear when I heard Grant, what a promotion Grant got from Tyler to junior warden. Guy's tearing it up.
Yeah, so much for that progressive line, right?
Yeah.
That's just more of a guideline.
Yeah. It's like pirates. Yeah. You know, there's no rules, just guidelines.
I'm happy to do it. I think we got a great opportunity this year to really do something big. We'll figure out what that is, but we're going to do some big stuff this year. I'm excited.
What a great ceremony we had too. There was a couple times. I know when Greg, our worshipful master that just was installed, he gave his wife the flowers. It was like, woo, I was fighting back tears, you know. It's like, that's how it's done, because she's going to be a Masonic widow for a year.
Yeah, just for the year.
Yeah. So it was really classy of him. Of course, he gave every officer's wife a bouquet of flowers, and then every woman that came in a flower, which was just an awesome touch. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah, he really kicked it up. Really kicked it up 10 on that one. Had a great meal too.
I'm going to be honest, guys. Considering I have not done my installation yet, I have just added something to the list of things to do.
Yeah. Well,
that
you got a couple
really
days.
Super idea. That is a really good idea.
Go get you some flowers.
I have to. I mean, I'm not even ashamed to say I'm going to just copy them.
Hey, that's the best form
when it works.
The best form of flattery, right?
Yeah. Because it was very moving. I brought a bouquet home to my wife, and so she got my secondhand speech of Greg, and she thought that was just the sweetest thing ever. It's not small, but it's not huge, but it really makes an impact.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Everyone left there feeling special. Everyone got a coin. All the Masons got a coin. All the wives got. Everyone who showed up got something, and left full. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. That barbecue, man, that was
unreal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lee Keener from Grapevine Lodge, who won the TMRC smoke-off last year, catered our food. Very reasonable, great guy. I mean, showed up with everything already cut, sides to dessert. It was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So keep him in mind if you ever need something catered. He's great.
Will do.
All right, boys. Are we going to do events this week, Gabe?
I think we're going to start with news, Rhit.
Oh, my gosh. Can we get this podcast right?
Well,
this is episode number 13. Is it episode 13 now? Wait, no.
Well, to answer your question, gentlemen, yes, we can. One at a later time and one right now. In Temple news, Cook Peavy Lodge, Panther City Lodge, Julian Field Lodge, and Fort Worth Lodge all had their installations this weekend. Many congratulations to all the brand new officers, and thanks to the outgoing officers. All of these lodges look to be running great lineups, and we have high hopes for everybody this next year. I'd specifically like to wish Fort Worth Lodge's new worshipful master, Greg Wright, the best of luck. Thank you to our brand new junior past master, Jamie Harrod, for his leadership and elbow grease this year. Texas Chapter 362 and Texas Council 321 had their officer installations. We've got a great set of guys at the helm, and I'm excited to see how this goes. Many thanks to the most illustrious Jeffrey Miller, Grand Master of the Grand Council of Royal and Select Masters of Texas, and the Right Illustrious Jerry Taylor, District Deputy Grand Master of the Cryptic District number 26, also under the Grand Cryptic jurisdiction of Texas. for attending and showing their support. Best wishes to our new High Priest and thrice illustrious Master, Robert Trevathan. Many thanks to our new Junior High Priest and past thrice illustrious Master, Joe Pearson. You're a free man, Joe. Run. In local news, history was made on Monday. At River Oaks Lodge 1311, our friend and brother Sam Levacy was installed as Worshipful Master at the age of 100 years old. We want to wish our brothers at River Oaks all the best and the happiest and healthiest year to Sam. The food was prepared by Fort Worth Lodge, and it was delicious, and we had an amazing fraternal experience hanging out with everybody. It was something that we'd love to do more often. We'd like to extend a special thanks to Sam Reed, the outgoing Worshipful Master, for his hard work this year, and also a special thanks to the Most Worshipful Jerry Kirby, Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Texas, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons, for serving as the installing officer. It was quite an experience, and the biggest thing was to see Sam's beaming smile at the end of it. I think we're in for a good year there. Again, guys, River Oaks Lodge, best of luck. It's awesome stuff. So in sort of state-ish news, there's been a bit of a kerfuffle on the Texas Masons Facebook group recently about clandestine lodges. So, couple bullet points to remember. Prince Hall affiliated, or PHA Masons, are not clandestine. They're recognized as a separate jurisdiction, and we can all visit each other after filing the appropriate paperwork, just like you would with any other foreign jurisdiction. 2. If you see something that claims to be a Grand Lodge, and it's not the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas in Fort Worth, or the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Texas in Waco, then it's probably clandestine. The easiest way to check is to use the lodge directories at grandlodgeoftexas.org/lodge-locator or mwphglotx.org/about/affiliated-lodges. If the lodge is not listed there under either of those lodge directories, stay clear. In national news, Alexandria, Virginia, there is an update on the situation with Alexandria Washington Lodge number 22. For reasons that are as of yet undisclosed, the Grand Master of Masons in Virginia arrested the charter of the lodge in April. As of now, news has come out that the charter will be returned in July, but that the Worshipful Master, Senior Warden, and Secretary are being replaced. For more info, please check out Brother Chris Hodap's blog, Freemasons for Dummies. In Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, students from Coastal Carolina University have been working on a gigantic outdoor mural on the side of the lodge building for Grand Strand Lodge number 392. This is a pretty visual thing, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to elaborate heavily on it, but go check it out at myrtlebeachonline.com. It's gorgeous. This is a wonderful way for Masons to get involved with education. All right, so in discussion questions this week, I wanted to ask, and this is just something that I was wondering, what non-principal, non-progressive line officer role do you want to see take a bigger stage in your lodge? So, marshal, chaplain, master of ceremonies, all this stuff. Like, who do you, or I guess in terms of role, not necessarily the person fulfilling the role, but like, what officer role for this coming year and maybe going forwards do you want to see take a bigger stage, maybe handle more responsibilities in a way that is fitting to the existing responsibilities that their officership has?
Of course, for our lodge, our growth is so new that those non-elective officers, the appointed, we're really still working in what exactly they do. But the first ones that pop to my mind that I would like to see repurposed are the stewards, because, of course, as of right now, I cook the meals. It won't always be that way, but we are dedicated to having top-notch meals.
Yeah, we got to retire you at some point.
Well, yeah, and you can't expect stewards year after year to get stewards that can cook meals for 40 or 50 people that are up to quality. It just doesn't work that way. Some people just cannot cook, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't enjoy it at all. So, whether I do it or we cater somebody, hire somebody to cater, which we've done. We did it just now, stated meeting or at installation. I would love to see those junior stewards taken away, to where they might be over in making sure the meal has been ordered kind of thing. And they help set up, but they don't actually cook. And they have other roles in the in their officer duties, not rolls in the oven like officer duties.
I think it would be really cool to see like the stewards, like for lodges that can afford to do so, let the stewards, maybe, if the lodge has a specific kind of food that they enjoy, or if the stewards have a specific kind of food that they want to learn how to cook, for the lodge to sponsor the stewards to go take cooking classes. Like if this person wants to go take, for example, like a, like a Chinese food cooking course, that they go learn that. Or if they want to go take classes in French cooking and it's like a 6-week course or something like that, that maybe that's something they can get involved with. It'd be pretty neat. Yeah. I don't know that would be necessarily feasible to do every year, but it would be kind of cool. But you're right, catering is definitely an option, and having two guys that kind of have good heads on their shoulders in regards of like who to call and when to call ahead and how much to order, like that's useful for sure.
Absolutely. Then you could have them in charge on degree night. They make sure the anteroom is set up clean. They make sure the candidate is taken straight from the parking lot to the anteroom and not shown around, kind of thing. They could have a lot of
and
a lot of different opportunity.
One of the lodges that, one of the things that I kind of wish we did is that, pre degree snacks. One of the lodges that meets in our temple, their junior stewards go and they buy like 3 or 4 dozen tacos from Taco Bell, and they just bring them in, and everybody gets fed before the degree. Because by the time that lecture rolls around and it's starting to finish, you're going, "Oh man, feed me, please." So I think they've got a good idea with that one.
That is a good idea. Yeah, because I've been in degrees and gotten real hungry. I didn't eat before my EA degree because every time I'd gone up there had been food. And I was like, well, they're probably going to have food. And I was in a hurry. I got down there and I didn't eat. And so by the time we got done, man, I was real tired, because I hadn't eaten. And I was real hungry. So
before my master's degree, I spent, I had to go to work that day, right? But for most of any time I had a free moment, I spent it meditating. And as part of that day, I fasted the day of my master's degree as a candidate. And so by the time the lecture rolled around, I was just dying.
Hey, Corey, do you guys serve meals before every degree at Arlington?
Yes. We do have meals before stated meeting. We have 4 degrees. Typically, the meals that we serve kind of coincide with the progression of the degrees. So an EA is going to be a pretty quick setup, takedown type of meal, pasta or sandwiches or something like that. I mean, we'll do a nice big spread where we'll have good meats and good bread and stuff, but something pretty easy. Fellowcraft will kind of up it a little bit more, introduce some meat, but still keep it kind of simple. And we like to do nice dinners for the master's degree, which is typically, maybe a pork loin with potatoes and vegetables and something a little bit more, little nicer, something that has a little bit more respect to it. And so it's not a hard rule. It's just as kind of one steward is passed down to another steward, that's kind of the way we have it structured. I did 2 years of stewardship. I was a junior steward and a senior steward. And then I've kind of helped the stewards come along as I've progressed and as they've come in. I think steward is one of the most indispensable jobs in the lodge, particularly for a young or new Mason. And I'll tell you why. And I can only speak from personal experience. I held junior steward weeks after I was raised a Master Mason. I went into officer right after I was raised. And it forced me to be at the lodge. It forced me to be early, to get to meet people. And not just that, but serve these people. Right off the bat, learn how to serve your brothers. And it got me comfortable with those people. Now, I'm a pretty extrovert person anyway, but even for people who aren't, it's a great way to get in the habit of showing up to lodge. That you have to be there, you have a job, you have a purpose, be there, serve, help. And so I'm a big, big supporter of getting in an officer role, and if you can, a stewardship as early as possible, because it will help you down the road. And then it'll kind of, especially if you're a young person like I was when I got involved. I was only 22 years old when I became a Mason. You know, it's a kind of way to say, you know, us young guys can really be beneficial. We can really pull our weight. Because sometimes you have to battle that a little bit in the lodge if there's a tremendous age gap between one and another, which there typically is.
Yeah. And I was going to say, because I think we are in the vast majority, if not one of the only lodges that don't serve a meal before degrees. And we used
when
to.
I heard that, I was a little surprised.
Yeah, we used to a long time ago, but our lodge has kind of expanded a little bit, contracted, expanded a little more, and really contracted. And that's when we lost the meals before degrees. And just in the last 3 years have we grown back into something to where we may want to start considering that again, because we just didn't have the folks to do it.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent we're still figuring out what the hell we're doing. What the hell we're doing? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, for me, I get there about 6 o'clock and we set up for degrees. And that's when the other 4 or 5 guys that was coming to lodge would get there. So nobody had time to eat. Now guys get there at 5, 4:30, you know, to where it could work again. But I think we definitely are in the vast minority by not cooking meals.
So I thought that what Corey said about the stewards was kind of interesting. There's a piece that there's a post on Reddit that Right Worshipful Jason Mitchell posted, and the title is "Musings on Why Being a Steward is the Most Important Officer Role in Lodge," right? And it's just 5 bullet points, right? And he says, 1, if you can't get trusted with coffee, you can't be trusted with anything else, most especially with initiating the next generation of men into the craft.
Good point.
2, that's a great point.
2, if you're too good to do the coffee run, that tells the lodge everything that they need to know about you. 3, show some initiative and confidence by leveling up the lodge's coffee game. Sure, unbranded stuff from the store is sufficient, but use some of your own money and give the lodge a treat and indulge them with something amazing that they will enjoy, especially if you hate it. 4, actually serve the coffee. Learn how everyone takes their coffee. Master it. And 5, remember how brothers take their coffee when you get to the east and show up to a brother's house or office with coffee in need of a favor or advice. So I like that.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. So
I like that.
It's kind of a really interesting take on the first, I guess, kind of like in a lot of places, you know, the stewards are the beginning of a true progressive line. And it's kind of neat to see that as like, well, this is why they're the building block, you know? So I guess we ended up kind of going off on, you know, I kind of wanted to talk more about like all sorts of separate officerships and stuff like that. But I feel like we have really exalted stewards today. I feel like that's a lot of fun. So we're probably better served, though, by moving on to the main episode content before we ramble on too far. For today's episode, we wanted to do a Fraternal Spotlight with Arlington 438's Worshipful Master-elect, Corey Harris. So, again, you know, as we said earlier, thank you for being on the show, Corey.
No, thanks for the invite. Really, very appreciative, very happy to do it.
So you're getting installed this Saturday, right?
That's correct. July the 1st, dinner at 6, installation at 7.
Very cool. So people that listen to this will have a couple of days' notice. It'll be good.
Yeah, and it'll be a pretty big affair. Grandmaster will be there to do the installation, and I'm his last stop of the day. So It should be a pretty because you know he's busy this time of year with installation, so he shouldn't have to run off immediately after because I'm his last stop. So
right, and so
it should be a good evening.
Did you have to? Awesome. I guess you probably had to arrange this like a year ahead, right? Actually,
no. I'm the soon-to-be vice president of the Masters, Wardens, and Secretaries Association for the 64th District. Oh, okay. And when we had our Grandmasters banquet that the MWSA puts on every year at the temple, which some of you are probably there, while he was there, I had asked him if there was any way I could get on his installation schedule. And he said, when are you looking to do it? I said, when can you do it? And he looked at his calendar and he said, July the 1st at 7:00. I said, okay. And that's it. So I didn't select the date. He did.
Being flexible helps. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because I was actually shooting for yesterday, the 24th. He said, just not going to work for me.
Oh, wow.
But
yesterday
worked okay.
There, though. If you're checking out the Masonic Facebook pages, man, there was a lot of installations going on.
Yes,
yep, I followed quite a few of them, so I was unfortunate I wasn't able to be at all of them because I went to Sweet Home in the morning, and then I had some family things to do yesterday afternoon, so I only got to go to one. But yeah, it was pretty much National Installation Day, and then my lodge had our annual St. John's dinner last night, which is always a really fun event. We have it at a nice restaurant in Arlington. If you aren't familiar with it, it's called Piccolo Mondo. But they always give us the private room. They do a great job waiting on us.
Nice.
They keep the wine flowing. It's a great dinner, and everybody ends up getting out of there with tip and all for about $40 a head. So it's a good dinner, good time, really awesome fellowship.
And for anybody wondering, Grant, Corey, Rhit, and myself have all referred to yesterday and today and tomorrow and all that. For context, we are recording this on a Sunday afternoon after St. John's Day due to schedule constraints. So we'll be releasing this on Thursday, but just for all of you that are wondering, when we say yesterday, that was Saturday. So just don't worry, guys. You're not going crazy.
Today is June the 25th.
Yes. And so, man, yesterday at the temple, I walked in there, and, we were walking in just as Panther City was getting done, and, Fort Worth was about to get started, and then when we left, Julian Field was getting rolling, and I think Cook Peavy did theirs earlier in the day, and so, man, there's in, out. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine how crazy it would be for you guys up at the big temple with all the different lodges in there. I can imagine. It was quite the revolving door.
The parking lot was packed. It was crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Good energy.
Yeah, all four did them yesterday.
Yeah. I wish the temple was always that busy.
Would be.
It is on Shrine Nights.
It is indeed, yeah. Shrine Nights and Scottish Rite Nights are usually super, super busy. So
I love when I have to go up to the temple for some kind of business, and the Shrine is also having one of their business sessions, because I know I can always find a cold beer when I'm done.
Yeah, that's always
so true. The Shrine always has it, and then I am a member of Mazel Shrine. I'm just not very active, so hey, I pay my dues. I can get a cold beer if I want one.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was approached about joining Masla, and I said, well, I wouldn't be very active necessarily, but as long as I pay my dues, I get to wear the fez, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of, we've already kind of gotten started talking and everything like that, but we kind of wanted to toss some general questions your way. And the way that I wanted to phrase this is that these can either be life in general for you, or these can also just be strictly craft, whatever you're more comfortable with. So,
okay.
But I guess, to start with, who has been the most important or influential person to you?
Well, you know what? For that particular question, I'll keep it to the craft. And in my Masonic life, the biggest influence has been James Dale Kirkpatrick. And
oh boy.
Y'all should, yes. But it's funny, you mentioned that name anywhere in the state, and you'll get one of two reactions. But, let me tell you, James has been a friend of mine since day one. He is one of the most genuine people I've ever met. And he is truly enthusiastic about the ritual. He's truly enthusiastic about what it means to relay the tenets of Masonry to new members, whether it be in the Blue Lodge or in the Scottish Rite or the York Rite or any of the dozen appendant bodies that James is a very well-respected member of.
He's a solid guy.
He really is.
I respect the hell out of that guy. Yeah.
And I've heard, some critics of him say, well, sometimes he doesn't take things seriously and things like that. And, and I've told James that before, maybe sometimes that there could be a little bit more stoicism in his delivery. But you know what? Nobody, I don't believe, knows the work as well as he does for as much as he knows. I don't know if y'all are involved in a Masonic degree or anything like that, but he confers a lot of those degrees. At one point, there are 29 additional Scottish Rite degrees, and he was on 25 of those degrees.
Wow.
And you can bet that he had the lion's share of speaking in those. So
he's got the depth and the breadth. He's not, when people say jack of all trades, there's usually this kind of implication that the jack of all trades is more of like they've got the shallow coverage of everything. They've got coverage of everything, but only a shallow coverage of everything. But that's really not the case with James.
No, not at all. And he's so enthusiastic about it all. I even asked him, I said, James, really, you and me, if you had to pick one, York Rite or Scottish Rite, which one would you pick? And he goes, well, that's like asking me which one of my arms do I like better? Do I like my left arm or do I like my right arm? He goes, there's something that one can do that the other can't do, but I'll be honest with you, I need them both.
That makes sense.
And a great answer. He goes, I get things from the York Rite that I can't get from the Scottish Rite, and vice versa. He goes, they both are, they complete the whole picture. And so I thought it was a great answer, but that wasn't a diplomatic answer. He really meant that, Right now he is let's see if I can get it correct, the Right Illustrious Grand Principal Conductor of the work of the most illustrious Grand Council of Royal and Select Masters of Texas.
That sounds correct, yeah.
But that's a long way of saying that in 2 years he'll be the Grand Master of the Grand Council. And so, that's a position that he's really earned. But circling back to the initial question, James has been a very good friend of mine since day one. I have asked him, and he has agreed to be my chaplain for this year, because when I think of the role of chaplain, I think of somebody who not only brings, reverence to the lodge and is there to be a helping hand, like I know he will be, but the chaplain sits next to the master. And I think of the phrase in the master's lecture when it says that I will, whisper good counsel in his ear and warn him of approaching danger. James is that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that will, if need be, lean over and say, I think you ought to be careful about this. But he'll do it very quietly, and he won't do anything to disrupt the authority of the master, because he understands what that means.
Yeah, there's very few people that are as good to have whispering in your ear, than him.
No doubt.
So.
No, and the thing I like about James myself, because he's inspired me on many occasions, when he does the work, it's all out, man. This guy's like, it's the first time he's given a lecture, he's so excited about it, and he's, animated, and it really, you see him do any other work, you get fired up.
Or when he hears it, he's not a spotlight hog. He enjoys listening to it, and when Zach or myself gives a lecture or the charge, you can see he is fully engaged. He is listening. Even though he's held an A certificate for the last 15 years, he has said the lecture probably, 100, 200 times. When he hears it, it resonates with him. And he's listening. He's not just, everybody else is kind of sitting there scrolling through their phone. They're listening, but James is engaged, and he's really taking it for what it is. And so I noticed that those things, and people notice those things as well. And that's why I have tried to emulate my Masonic career so far by his standard. And, I think I do a pretty good job of it because James and I are good friends, and I've taken the steps to learn the work and be proficient with the work. And, but he's the person that's had the most influence for my Masonic career, and he's the one who I want to emulate the most.
Cool. I was having a discussion with one of our new Master Masons who's working on his proficiency, and we were talking about it, and it's important, and how it's important to be able to enjoy digesting as much as one enjoys performing, and so that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have an A certificate as well, Corey?
I actually do not have an A certificate. I've held a B certificate for the last 3 years, and the only thing keeping me from having an A certificate is the master's lecture that I have not 100% nailed down. And it's one of those things. Every single time I go, okay, I'm really going to just take the time, take the effort, and get it down. I always get presented with something else for some degree. Hey, we need you to confer this degree for York Rite. So now I have to take the time to do that. And, because now this is pressing, this is right now. Or they say, hey, we need somebody to fill in this spot for this Scottish Rite degree. Yeah. And because of, I've gotten a reputation for being able to handle long orations. I usually don't get picked for the easy parts.
So, right now, I know that suffering because right now I'm in the process of learning the principal sojourner part for the Royal Arch degree. Man, that is tough, and it's really messing with me when I get to my Blue Lodge stuff. So I'm having to,
it will.
Yeah, so I'm having to rehearse both twice as hard as I normally would, which I'm actually kind of enjoying that. So it's not too bad.
Well, and no, the reason I want to ask, because B certificate as well, that's no small potato itself. So what motivated you to get the certificate?
Well, to be honest, I had already had the stuff committed to memory. I never thought to take a certificate exam. Somebody said, you ought to get a B certificate. What's a B certificate? And I said, well, it's something that shows that you're proficient in these things and all this other stuff. I said, but I already am. So we're right, but you can have a certificate and that just gives you certain privileges and whatnot. And it's kind of a kudos in a sense. I said, okay, well, I'll do that then. But as soon as I got involved in my lodge, I immediately wanted to get involved in degrees. So the way I did it was I started privately on my own time learning the charges for all 3 degrees. So I learned the entered apprentice charge, committed it to memory. And then when it was time to do degrees, mind you, I'm just a junior steward. When it was time to do degrees, I said, hey, I can do the charge. Okay, great. Well, that was my job. My job was the charge. And so I would learn the next charge, and then I would learn the next one. And then I would start paying attention to the degrees, picking up other parts. And so once I owned the charge, everybody knew that's mine. And then I would just start biting off one job at a time, one role at a time. And by the time I was a junior deacon, I was conferring all 3 degrees. I could give all 3 charges, the apron, the Bible. The only thing I couldn't do was give the master's lecture, proficiently anyway. Yeah. So today I can give the EA's lecture, I can give the Fellowcraft's lecture, but I still can't proficiently give the master's lecture. So I've already decided, this year in the East, I will go ahead and finish committing the master's lecture in memory. I have to get my A certificate. I've already kind of made up my mind on that point, but, I got the B certificate because I could. But, certificate was not what encouraged me to learn the work. I had learned the work first and then was, okay, well, I guess I can just go and sit through one of these forums and answer the questions and I get a B certificate. And, that's how it was.
No, I love that answer because, the certificate kind of goes on your yay me wall, or you hope your lodge might hang it up or something,
Yeah, or it goes on the yay us wall, our lodge outside the room has a whole wall full of, lifetime A certificate holders and things like that. And that's a great thing for the lodge. It's a great individual achievement, but it's nice that the lodge can have these things to say, our brothers, we have a good group of guys that care about the ritual, care enough about it to get recertified every year, so it's good for the lodge as a whole.
Okay.
So that's really cool. Again, you have a good point. It is better for the lodge. It's a point of pride. That's kind of cool to think of, just like a wall of A certs or whatever. And this is the knowledge at our disposal.
That it is. Yeah, it is. So if y'all ever come to visit Arlington, you will see it, because when you go to walk in the lodge room where the Tyler station is, it is right on the wall behind him, and it goes from doorway to doorway, and it's all lifetime A certificates.
Yeah, I've been there.
Cool. Yeah, there's folks that have had there's folks on there that have had A certificates since before I was born. Bob Collier's had an A certificate since 1980. I'm serious.
So what would you say your happiest moment in the craft has been so far?
In the craft as a whole so far, well, it actually came very, very recently. I was extremely honored to be elected as Worshipful Master, but I had some time to digest that. Obviously, by the time you go through the line, you expect that to happen. And I don't mean that you expect it, but you put in the work and you earn the confidence of your brother. So you come to expect that. By your performance, you expect that tradition to prevail. But the biggest honor I've had in the craft to date actually came last week when the Scottish Rite elected to honor me with the Knight Commander Court of Honor.
No way.
32nd. Yes.
Dude, congrats. Yes. That is awesome.
Thank you very much. I really was very excited. I was very honored. I came in, I was reading the letter to my wife, and I couldn't believe it. It was quite an honor. And it's like I told her, said, this recognition really is a big deal in our circle. But outside of the circle of Masonry, it really doesn't mean anything. It won't get you anything more. But what makes it an honor is where it comes from. It comes from the people that you hold in such high esteem. It comes from the people whose, Masonic career you want to emulate. And they have chosen to reciprocate that respect by giving you this honor. And that's where the humbleness comes from. That's really where the honor is. It's not in hats. It's not in jewels. It's not in titles. It's the fact that the people you think so much of thought of you in the same way. And that's a really powerful feeling. I mean, it's powerful in the sense that it really can shake you emotionally.
That is pretty awesome.
I'm with you 100% because you get elected to one of these offices, and it's not something you're going to put on your resume.
Because it doesn't mean anything to anybody else.
If I was an employer, and I saw somebody put on their resume that they were a Mason, I would be seriously kind of suspicious, or maybe I would take them aside and I would say, brother, this is not something you want to be making part of your professional life. This is
right.
And I have nothing against working with other Masons. I've had coworkers that are Masons and I love it. But some people try and misuse it as an accolade of sorts.
Well, and here's why I bring it up, because your resume could be clean as a whistle, the best resume ever written. If you go into the interview with no confidence and no chutzpah about yourself, you ain't getting the job. You're not going to get the job. But those titles and being elected to those positions give you something that you do carry into those everyday world that's untangible.
Yes.
You know how to react in high pressure situations. You know how to pull off big events. I mean, you can sit down and talk with somebody that's either the CEO or the janitor on the same level, and that's things that a lot of people don't have, and we take that for granted, because we're trained in it so well. And those titles, it took me a long time to wrap my head around them, because I used to think, oh my God, here we go with the titles again. We've all been there, and people still complain about them. But it's our chance to bolster that brother's confidence that much more, to not only serve our fraternity better, but more importantly, serve his family and our society better with that confidence we give him by just saying the title in the Masonic Service Bureau or NWSA or whatever it may be. We're building that confidence and rapport, and it's what we're doing at Lodge.
Everything you do affects everything else. So if you're working and they ask you to do something that you've done in Lodge before as an officer, if you're a steward and they ask you to put together a picnic, you know exactly what to do. You take the skills you learn and you apply them to the rest of your life.
So, Corey, for our listeners that are unfamiliar, could you tell us a little bit more about what it means to become a Knight Commander of the Court of Honor / KCCH?
Sure. Well, from my understanding, and first of all, it is a completely unsolicited honor. There is no criteria. There's no boxes you can check off in order to achieve this. So the way it goes is that the Supreme Council opens the nominations for honors every 2 years. There are some criteria you have to have, like you had to have been a Scottish Rite Mason for, I believe, a minimum of 2 years. You can't have had any lapse in membership or gone expired. There's just some housekeeping requirements, but beyond that, there's no other requirements. You are a candidate is nominated by another KCCH or 33rd degree Mason is nominated for this honor. They take all of those nominations from one particular valley, submit those to the Supreme Council, and then the Supreme Council makes their selection based on recommendations, service records. They look at everything, degrees you're involved with, other appendant bodies you're involved with, things you've done within the valley. So, for example, I'm the junior past Venerable Knight for the Knights of St. Andrew for my valley, which is another service organization. We do a lot with the reunions. We do a lot with the 4th of July picnic, the Grandmaster's Banquet. I mean, we're involved in a lot of things. So it's a pretty heavy service organization. They look at these types of things. And to be honest with you, I don't know what all else they look at. I'm not privy because I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it comes to me after the fact. But then the Supreme Council makes their selections, and then those brothers are then elected to receive either the KCCH or 33rd degree. Out of the Fort Worth Valley, there were 7 brothers who were elected to KCCH, and I believe there was another 4 that were elected to receive the 33rd degree. So if we take those numbers and hold them true, there's only 7 valleys total in Texas. So let's just say each valley had 7 KCCHs. That's only 49 KCCHs that come out of Texas. So it is a tremendous honor.
Yeah, it's only a small percentage of everybody every year that is even eligible or whatever. It's amazing. So so again, congratulations, because that is really cool.
That's awesome. Hey, before we get too deep into more questions, tell us a little bit about 438, maybe what history you know about it. And because I know that lodge has been bumping. It's been bumping for years, as long as I've been a Mason.
Yeah,
you guys have held the torch.
Let's talk about 438 for just a second. I'm actually in the process of doing a paper for the Texas Lodge of Research entitled "The Town That Masons Built." And it's about the history of Arlington and the role of Arlington Lodge in its development, because this lodge of Masons was there before Arlington was a city. So I'll elaborate on that just for a minute. I mean, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but before it was Arlington, the town was called Johnson Station. It was named after Middleton Tate Johnson, who was given that area of Tarrant County as a land grant from Sam Houston for his service during the Texas fight for independence. So Middleton Tate Johnson established his cotton farm right there, what we know as Arlington today. It was the largest cotton producing plantation in North Texas, and consequently he was the largest slaveholder in North Texas. Well, he's the one of the movers and shakers that had a spur line of the railroad go from Fort Worth to Dallas to cut through his property. And where that railroad stopped, they called it Johnson Station. Okay, so let's fast forward just a little bit. He received dispensation from the Grand Lodge of Texas in 1878 to establish a new lodge there in Johnson Station. He called it Johnson Station Lodge number 438. Andrew Shannon Hyder was the first worshipful master of that lodge. Now, Andrew Shannon Hyder was an interesting character because he had his property right on the other side of Johnson Station. The post office was there, and so therefore they called that part of town Hyderville. So when Arlington, well, what we know now today as Arlington, was looking to restructure and rename itself, they approached Andrew Shannon Hyder because he was a Presbyterian minister, very influential, and the worshipful master of the local lodge. So they can they asked him if they would like to name the town Hyderville. He said no, because that's a terrible name for a town. So he suggested to name it. Now, and remember the time period here. We're talking about 78 now. So he said, why don't we name it after great General Robert E. Lee's home in Virginia? And so Arlington was born. And the lodge would still remain Johnson Station Lodge for several years. It wouldn't become Arlington Lodge until the 1890s. And that's when it changed over. Arlington Lodge has had 6 locations in its history, all just around downtown Arlington. We have been in our current location for 53 years. And it is a beautiful building. It was built in, I guess it would be 1964 was when it was built. So that's where we are. Interesting side note, Arlington Lodge, Johnson Station Lodge, was actually responsible for the first teachers in Arlington. If you go back and read the minutes from the very first stated meeting of Johnson Station Lodge, Andrew Shannon Hyder addressed the problem that there was no formal education in Arlington. And how can we fix that? So he assigned a committee to study the budget and see how much money they could afford to spend on teachers. They came back and they decided that the lodge would underwrite the salaries for the teachers of Arlington. They would also offer their lodge room for the teachers to hold school. And so the very first school house was the lodge room of Johnson Station Lodge number 438, and the very first teachers were paid by Johnson Station Lodge number 438. So we're very proud of our history in our community. We're very proud of what our Masons have done in our community. You know, the football field that I played on as a high schooler, Cravens Field, is named after Carlisle Cravens, who was a past master of our lodge. He's also the grandson of James Carlisle, as in Carlisle's Military Academy, which was the precursor to the University of Texas at Arlington. T.B. Matlock was a past master of our lodge. Most of y'all, I'm sure, are familiar with Matlock Road.
Yep.
But if you go down the wall of Arlington's past masters, you will recognize a lot of those names as street signs of Hutchinson Junior High School, past master of Arlington Lodge. So, you know, Arlington's very proud of its Masonic history, and the Masons in Arlington are very proud to be part of that history. And so,
man, I'm telling you, I mean, it's like, of course, Middleton Tate Johnson, too. I think he might have been a charter member or close to it. But, I mean, literally, the names are changed, but the story's the same.
Middleton became a Mason in Fort Worth. That's where he became a Mason.
Well, and I mean, from the teachers being paid by the lodge, all those things you listed off is the same thing that happened. I know at Fort Worth Lodge, you know, our history says so. I know it happened at Waco 92. So it's so amazing to hear how, you know, those
Masons
first lodges
built their communities.
Yeah, and you see this all over, all over Texas Masonry, all over Masonry in the States, all over Masonry over the entire world. It's just this Masons and schoolhouses, and just how they're so intrinsically, like lodge rooms and schoolhouses, and you have
to take in consideration the source. I mean, Masonry really started expanding in Texas under Sam Houston. Sam Houston and Mirabeau Lamar, two Masons, are considered the fathers of education in Texas. I mean, both of them, particularly Mirabeau Lamar, but also Sam Houston, were very, very instrumental in getting education to Texas, formalizing education in Texas. So, I don't know how it is all over the world, but I know in Texas, Masons take care of schools, they take care of teachers, and they take care of education. Every single lodge has scholarship programs. Every lodge that I know of does Mirabeau Lamar Awards. Our lodge does the Teacher of Excellence Awards every year, and that's always a great event for us. We acknowledge all the teachers in Arlington, elementary school teachers in Arlington, and then we select an overall teacher to give the Teacher of Excellence Award. It's a big event. Mayor, school board members, and superintendent come. So, but, I think given the source of Masonry in Texas, it's not hard to see why Masons care about education.
So, just to kind of sum up the question as well, because the history, I mean, you cannot beat that. That's such a great story. What, if you could sum it up in kind of one or corner the success of 438, what has made them continually successful? I mean, it's been years, decades, if they ever weren't successful.
Yeah, to be honest, there's several things that contribute to any individual or any organization's success. One is hard work. The other one is a little bit of luck. Arlington Lodge is lucky in the fact that we were able to get a lot of that land in Arlington. We purchased it for the price of a song way back in the day, and then we were able to sell it for a lot over prime, and then invest that money. So we have a strong investment portfolio. Now we own our building, but that's luck. We didn't have much control over that. Things fell in place for us, but it takes hard work to build on that and not squander that. So we've had some very smart people in charge of finances. We've had smart people in charge of investments. We've had an involved brotherhood, and we had a large membership base. At one time, Arlington had over 1,400 members. That's a huge member base. That's absolutely, now today, that number's dwindled down to just around 500. But, when the huge, the Masonic boom happened, late 40s, early 50s, Arlington Lodge, people kind of slyly called it the Grand Lodge of Arlington, because it was humongous. It was humongous. The membership was, we had to have 2 lodge rooms. We have 2 lodge rooms, one on each side of the building. And there was a time where they were going at the same time. We would be doing EAs in one lodge room and EAs in the other lodge. We had so many to do, and vice versa. Guys would go from one lodge room and charge one lodge room and run down the other end of the building and give the lecture over there. So, is it like that in Arlington anymore? No. That's a conversation for a different day. Masonry is, the numbers are getting a little stale, but the success of Arlington was, a little bit of luck with some land deals and investments that we made. But by and large, just the hard work of the guys to keep it going.
Yeah, no doubt.
So looking forwards to Arlington's history, you're going to be installed as Worshipful Master on Saturday. What do you have, I guess, like top 3, top 5 things you want to get done this year?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody always goes into the East and they have all these grand plans. Man, they're going to change the world. This thing is going to get put on a different course, and so on and so forth, right? They're going to balance books. We're going to make all kinds of money, all this other stuff. I have 2 things that I want to accomplish this year. One of them is we need to focus more on our fundraising. And here's what I mean by that. We need to focus on what we're raising money for and then raise money for it. I want to start a tradition there where every year the officers decide what's one thing they want to do for our building. My one thing is we have a big, beautiful piece of property behind that building. I want to build a nice deck with a cover that we can enjoy, during cookouts or even after lodge. We can sit out there and enjoy, whatever it is we choose to enjoy. But, so there's that. But let's get real numbers involved. Get somebody out there, tell us how much it's going to cost to build it, and then set that number as a hard goal and say, here's how much money we need to raise, and we've got 1 year to do it.
Nice.
Okay? And that way, every year as we turn over, come July, Lodge knows July is construction season because we're going to be doing whatever we set out to do the previous year. If the next year they say, well, we want to get this whole lodge repainted, everything redone, make it look like new. Okay, let's get a real number. What is that going to cost? That's going to cost this much. Okay, well, we've got 12 months to raise this much money. Let's get it done, right? Not just raising money to have money, raising money for a purpose. Lodges never have enough money. You got to go get it, guys. And you can't raise dues, and you can't keep charging people, a pendant body, egregious rents to get that money. Dues are meant to offset costs. not create revenue. Renting your building to an independent body should be to offset costs. It should not be for profit. Okay? You cannot dues your way into prosperity. It's just not going to happen. You need to go out and get money from somewhere else. So one of the things that I want to focus on specifically this year is raising money for a purpose, and then, using that money for its design purpose.
What are some examples of how you're planning on raising money? Do you have anything particular in mind that you're going to do?
Absolutely. We have pumped up our merchandising for the lodge. So getting custom merchandise, cool merchandise, and having it available for sale online as well as at the lodge. People come to visit. That's just one way of generating revenue. Holding events throughout the year at the lodge. One event for sure we're going to have this year is I'm going to call it the Smoke Off. Kind of like, pretty much a barbecue contest, but we have a lot of land that lodge sits on. Invite people with their smokers. It's a $50 entrance fee. Bring your smokers. We'll set them up Friday. We'll have a big smoke off. Then the next day, we'll have a family day at the lodge. We'll eat the barbecue. There'll be judging for the barbecue. Everybody else can bring sides. It's $10 to eat. So we make money off the barbecue, make money off the family day, and it's a great way to get everybody together at the lodge, have a wonderful time, enjoy each other's company, so things like that.
Okay, so
organizing.
You're looking at you're not doing car washes or anything now.
I think that would be a tough sell.
Man, if you got out there in a Speedo, you could probably get some ladies in there. Pretty quick.
No. I mean,
and Corey is a beautiful man, ladies. So
I'm telling you.
I'm sure that I might be able to make a couple of dollars in tips, but to get the other brothers involved might be a tough sell. I mean, I don't have to be twisted very hard to get half naked in public. That's not that hard to sell, but for the other guys, it might be a swallow.
No, well, and that's genius because y'all do it. You have a beautiful piece of property, lots of land there. What a great way to use your resources. Absolutely.
No, it's just things like that. Doing other excursions with the brothers, okay, and turning those into fundraisers. So, hey, we're going to go do an event. The event costs $20 a person. We'll charge $30 a person. Right. So just by us all going out and having a good time, right, we can make a couple $100 just like that. I don't mind paying a few dollars over price. Neither does anybody else because they know where the money's going. Right. If you ask people for help in those kind of ways, they'll help you. But if you tack on $10 a year to their dues, that's not cool. Right. See that there's a difference there. Right. Yeah. I'm getting something for one thing, and you're getting something for the other.
You feel like you're directing your money. I think it's kind of the feeling of if they came around and they said to every house and said, "Listen, we need $2,000 this year to keep all open to the schools and fill all the potholes." Everyone would be like, "Well, okay, yeah, that makes sense." But when they send it to you in a tax bill, you're like, "Hey,
right.
What are you doing here? This is my money." So knowing where your money's going really
it's all in how it's presented and having a choice.
You don't have to go to the event. Exactly.
Having a choice makes a lot. So those are just a few things, but so that's something that's heavy on it. But number one, above all, top priority this year is fun, fellowship, fraternity. I am so tired of the mundane, just day in and day out, month to month business. We open and close the meeting and do an HM. The pledges to the flags were given. Blah 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 blah. I mean, man, that's just business. That's just business. If you go to lodge once a month, shame on your lodge, because sitting in a stated meeting, that's
so true.
That's the boring aspect. That should not be your one Masonic event a month. That's just the business. That's where you go to, bring up a motion or something needs to be paid. That's business. you need to have more events for your brothers and their families to get involved, to be a part of the lodge, for everybody to know each other. So,
brother.
Not saying anything that everybody else isn't saying, but you know what? I'm young enough and I'm full-headed enough to say, here's what's going to happen, okay? We're going to get together at least once a month in the lodge, and then we'll get together a couple of times a month outside of the lodge. People are invited. Sometimes it'll be Masons only. Sometimes it'll be Masons and wives only. Sometimes it'll be Masons, wives, and kids, right? Depending on the event. But, we're going to have a lot of opportunities for people to get involved, have fun with each other. I mean, this is a fraternity, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing?
Absolutely.
Paying the bills is not Masonry. That's the business. Yep. That's just what keeps it going. Okay.
No, and guys show up because they had such a good time at the other meeting. And I think a lot of lodges miss that. It's like you get a new worshipful master and it's like, okay, we're going to start doing floor school, all this other stuff. And guys aren't real motivated. That's not what's going to get them back.
No.
Those
if they're interested in floor school, if they're interested in floor school, they'll be there for that. That's not a draw. Okay.
Yes.
That doesn't draw people in. Myself and a small group of us started the post lodge club, and after a stated meeting, a group of us, we just got together and said, hey man, what y'all doing after lodge? Y'all grab a drink? Yeah. Okay. Let's go do that. Well, one of our members owns a bar right around the corner from our lodge. Hey, where are you going to go? Let's go over to Sunshine. Okay. So we go over there, and a group of us. Well, that group started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it got to be people were showing up to lodge. And before the meeting even started, hey, where are we going after lodge? What are we doing after lodge? So they were showing up for the fellowship. They were sitting through the business so they could get to the fun. Okay, well, great. But what that tells me is that there is a void. There is a need for this type of fun. Well, we're going to go ahead and fill that void. So now you can come and have fun without having to suffer through the business.
And that's one of the reasons why I wish we could do table lodges in Texas. And there's, we can do festive boards and things, and there's rules regarding that. But because of a couple of the laws that we have regarding alcohol and stuff, we're not technically allowed to do table lodges, right? But I would love, and what you're talking about here, the fraternity and the fun and, good food, good drinks, all this kind of stuff, man, if we had the ability to do table lodges and say, all right, guys, we're going to do stated meeting, we're going to open up stated meeting, we're going to have food that's catered to us, we're going to have a couple drinks over the thing, and we'll discuss business and everything like that, and we'll even have votes, and maybe we'll even have disagreements, but you know what? We're going to do it over good food and good drinks, Yeah. And so I wish we could do table lodges, especially for stated meetings, because business is always better with good food and good wine.
Yeah, but I always joke and say, more business is done at those, after lodge meetings than are done in the lodge.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's when people can really talk and really mention, what they think about a particular issue, how they think something should be handled or solved. And that's where the business is really handled. It's in a more casual environment, outside of the lodge room, in a smoky, noisy bar, where, of course, won't be smoky anymore. Can't smoke in Arlington anymore.
Yeah.
But that's where the business is done.
That's one of the coolest experiences I had about going to Grand Lodge this year was Waco 92, and I think specifically Brother Robert Marshall organized a big get-together at this place called The Backyard. And
yes,
so,
I was there.
Yeah, and so, you were there.
Yeah, and Rhit was there too.
And everything. And
heck yeah.
It was, it was the Friday. And so, it was Friday, so Grand Lodge lets out, and everybody goes, all right, guys, to the hotel, grab your stuff, then to the backyard. Or some people just headed directly to the backyard.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great time, man.
Amidst drinks and cigar smoke and everything like that, a lot of productive conversations were had, and a lot of really interesting leadership was conducted, and I got, more than anything, my head, was buzzing with ideas after I left that one. It was just
amazing. And friendships were formed. You got a chance to meet people that you never met before, and really develop a good friendship with these folks.
And codify the ones that you briefly knew.
Right.
But there's no doubt that was the highlight of Grand Lodge. I mean, I love Grand Lodge session, but I wish Grand Lodge did more things to bring us together so we could have those opportunities.
I mean, Rhit, that's where you and I actually formally met, was at the backyard. Yeah. I mean, we had seen each other and stuff in passing, but that was the first time that you and I had actually formally talked to each other.
And, and I think this is one of the reasons why the shrine serves such a great purpose in Masonry as an appendant body, because its whole function is, all right, guys, good food, good drinks, good brotherhood, And it's just one of those amazing things that gets done there. It facilitates that friendly, casual, fraternal aspects. So that's one of the reasons why I really like and respect the shrine, because they saw a void that, like, hey guys, we're not having enough fun. So they said, let's make this fun.
Well, and the whole point, just because you mentioned the shrine, the whole point of the shrine was to do something great and have a good time while you do it. I mean, the shrine is so involved. I mean, really hands-on involved in their hospitals and their other charities, but they don't have to take themselves so seriously. They wear the fez, and the fez was designed to be something kind of different and silly. I said, hey, the former of one of the formers of the shrine had just come back from the Middle East. He said, man, they're wearing these hats over there. We need to wear these hats. They're different. They stand out. I mean, the whole thing was kind of, predicated on this bit of humor. That's why they use all these Arabic words that nobody knows what they mean. It's just they intentionally gave themselves kind of an Arabic type of symbolism. And so it just shows you can do great things without taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah, everybody needs a little bit of goofiness, and Masonry benefits, obviously being serious is awesome, but Masonry does benefit in the grand scheme of things from being a little bit goofy. And, sometimes funny things happen in Lodge. I guess, what's the funniest thing that you've ever seen in Lodge?
That I've ever seen in Lodge?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll tell you. This
sounds good.
that like sort of like I don't know.
I don't know if I can put this out here. What he's going to do? All right.
My father-in-law, and if y'all don't know who my father-in-law is John Gauze. Okay, John Gauze is the current worshipful master at Harmony out in Morgan Mill, and he will be my senior warden this year.
Yep.
At Arlington. John's a very good guy. He's a good Mason, good man. But we were doing a degree out in Harmony, and John was a senior deacon. Okay, Keith Arterburn. Everybody knows mouthpiece Keith Arterburn. Mm-hmm. Well, yes. He was the worshipful master. He was confirmed. And so they get up to the altar, and when he puts his hands on the Bible, Keith realizes that he's wearing a ring. Okay, all metallic substance. And so Keith goes, he kind of points to the ring, and John takes it off, and he goes, does he have any other metallic substance? And John looks down wearing an earring, and he goes, oh, I forgot that, right? And so John takes that off. Keith goes, does he have any other metallic substance? He goes, I don't think so. And Keith goes, well, because, John, I need you to make sure, does he have any other metallic substance? And John looks at him and says, right in the middle of open lodge, well, what do you want me to do, Keith? Checking for a ring?
Oh, my.
And, the candidate's sitting there at the altar, blindfolded, and his words were, I'm not wearing a ring, sir. And the whole Sam Gibbins was asleep. Well, he woke up after that.
Keyword was said. Click. Yeah.
So the whole place just kind of erupted and it was all downhill after that. That was one of the funniest, definitely most interesting events that has ever happened in open lodge.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that would be pretty intense.
That is funny.
And the poor candidate, sitting there at the altar, he's blind. What's going on, and he's just saying, "You want me to check? I'm not wearing a ring."
Oh, that's so great. And I love that when degrees go wrong and people recover or people still have a good time. That's amazing, especially when it's things going wrong in a goofy way. Like if somebody trips, and falls and gets hurt, that's no fun. But if somebody says something ridiculous, and you still can recover, then that's great,
I swear, one day I almost lost the gavel. I was sitting in the South, and I was warm. I wore a warm suit. The AC wasn't going very well. That happens in the temple sometimes. And I almost lost the gavel. And I kind of want to see that happen, just see how far one will fly if someone loses it. But yeah, I've got
little cord that you wrap around your wrist or whatever, like a Wii remote.
Did Gabe tell me right? Are you going to be the youngest worshipful master at Arlington Lodge?
I will be the youngest master in the history of Arlington, only by a couple of months. About 6 months.
No way. So you get to make that claim. I would even make something cool to put under your picture until somebody took it from you.
Well, the youngest master before me was it was during the Depression.
Oh wow!
And I can't off the top of my head. I can see his picture on the wall, but I can't off the top of my head remember his name. But he was 30 years old when he was installed, and I will turn 30 in the East because I'm 29. My birthday's in December, so I'll turn 30 in the East. So about 6 months.
So how does that feel? Are you feeling a little bit of pressure? Maybe, I don't know.
You know what? Not really. Not really, and only because I have been involved in Masonry for a little while. I do have confidence in my abilities as a Mason. I understand the work. I understand the laws. I understand how a lodge works. But more than that, I've got a really good group of supportive officers who are good friends of mine. I'm not worried because, I know they've got me. If I need something, they'll be there to help me. If, I kind of overextend myself a little bit, they'll be there to help support the gap. So I'm not worried because I've really got a good lodge. I've really got a good group of guys to work with. I'm really excited to work with them. I've been enjoying working with them for the last several years. We've had a good continuous line. So, no, I'm really not. I'm looking forward to a great year. It's going to be I'm excited about it. I'm really excited.
That is
no,
awesome.
and it's easy to see there. I mean, you got no nerves about you. So what do you think kind of prepped you most? Like, what do you attribute the majority of your confidence going into the East to?
Well, I would say one of the biggest contributing factors is just me personally. I have a confident demeanor. That's just, speaking to people, speaking in front of people has never been an issue for me. It's never been something that I was intimidated by. So going into Masonry and having that confidence, it only grew because, doing degrees, being keynote speaker for certain events, hosting events, being the MC on other events has all kind of prepared me for this role of being that figurehead, not just for a night, but over the course of a year. I've done the Burns Dinner for Fort Worth 2 years in a row where I was the coordinator and the MC for the event, but that's just one night. But, being prepared to do that every time the lodge is open, well, that is a little bit different. But, having done these other things, being involved, I feel confident. But also, by trade, I'm a salesman, I'm a presenter. So it's not uncommon to be put into an
your job.
Well, it is, in fact. I work in marketing. I work for a marketing firm that does targeted marketing for auto dealers. So my clients are automotive dealership owners, general managers, intense people that I don't know. So it's not uncommon at all to be put into a tense situation, and then the goal of that situation is to turn it from intense to friendly, and then from friendly to client, and go down that road. And it's not always a smooth road. It depends on who you're sitting in front of. So the years I've had to train myself in, mirror and matching my client, being put into a situation and immediately adapting to that environment. If it's hot, get over it. If it's cold, get over it. If this guy just stares right through you, get over it. So there's a lot of things, and I've been young, but, while I was working on my undergrad, I was a realtor. I sold real estate to pay for school. So even at, 21, 20 years old, I was having real conversations with, people who I consider to be an adult. I wasn't an adult then for sure, but, having serious conversations about home equity and advising them on how to sell their family home. And so, those encounters didn't always go good, but I learned a lot from them. I learned how to conduct myself. I learned what to say and what not to say. So to answer that question in a really roundabout, there is no one particular thing that has contributed to the way I feel about going into this year. It's been a culmination of life experiences, a lot of things that I've been involved with that I know, I've been in some pretty uncomfortable situations, and I've always managed to come out of them. Not always unscathed, but I've been able to come out of them. So
as long as it's most of the time, right?
That's right. But I mean, there have been some bad outcomes, but they're learning experiences.
Yeah, the confidence that comes with being in a bad situation day after day and turning them good. There's some hard lessons in there. I've gotten bumped on the head once or twice trying to be a bull in a china shop. Sometimes it doesn't work, but it does give you confidence when you're in a position of leadership to do what you need to do in a way that everyone at the end of the day is going to be happy with.
Yeah. So but I feel like being involved in the laws like I have for years. I've been conferring degrees there for the last 3 years. People are used to seeing me in that role, and so it won't be that big of a change for them, And I really don't anticipate a whole lot of pushback. I don't say this in a in a self-serving kind of way, but I'm well liked in my lodge. I get along with everybody because I've made it a point to get along with everybody. I don't, I try not to spur disagreements. If I have a difference of opinion, I want to express it respectfully, always respectfully and logically. And so, I'm the ever diplomat. So because of that, I don't anticipate a lot of pushback because I've never given anybody any pushback. If I disagree with you, I will express it to you, but always with the most respect. And that doesn't mean that I'm right. It's just, I always present it in a matter of opinion. In my opinion, which is, worth whatever you're willing to pay for it. In my opinion, I think this course would be more appropriate.
So, Corey,
Sweet.
I had a question. Mm-hmm. You kind of mentioned them earlier before, right? So you've mentioned your involvement in Scottish Rite, and you've also mentioned your involvement in the Knights of St. Andrew as the junior past venerable knight. A lot of guys who are in the Knights, they tell me it's a great leadership experience, and they told me, hey, once you join Scottish Rite, you should totally get involved in St. Andrew. Awesome leadership skills, awesome leadership experience. What lessons from the Knights are you applying or have you applied to your Blue Lodge leadership strategies? And what can you tell us more about in a nutshell? For those of us that aren't familiar with it, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that's working out for you?
Yeah. One of the invaluable things I think that what we call KSA, Knights of St. Andrew, what the KSA gives to an individual is, one, free reign. We operate under the auspices of the Fort Worth Valley, but we are our own group. We don't have to have the chairman approve what we do, So for those who are the Venerable Knight, you get to run that group like it's yours. We have our own set of bylaws. We have our own rules that we have to follow that we've created. The chairman doesn't approve these bylaws. Okay, now he looks at them, but I mean, as long as they're not in conflict with the bylaws of the Scottish Rite, there's no problem. So it gives the leader a great opportunity, a practice run, okay, of leading Masons. It's a smaller group, and we meet a lot less frequently. So it gives you an opportunity to conduct a couple of meetings, get familiar with making an agenda, and having a plan of action for your guys to follow. We handle the flag ceremony for all the stated meetings. We'll also do like presentations at other Scottish Rite functions in general. So when we have the convocation in San Antonio year before last, Fort Worth and the Dallas KSA did the Arch of Steel for all the dignitaries, did the flag presentation. So, having those things up on your guys' radar for them to know. During my year, it happened to be during the biannual gathering. KSA does a national biannual gathering every 2 years. So me and about 6 other guys went to Omaha, Nebraska for the weekend for that. What a great time it was. But I organized and orchestrated that trip, got all the guys involved, and we had an awesome time. So it kind of gets your feet wet with running an organization without being thrown to the wolves. We don't have to pay any rents. Fort Worth allows us to meet there rent free. The temple does. And so, the money that we do have, the accounting is not as difficult. You're pretty much just buying regalia, and then the Robert Burns dinner we do every year comes from our expense, but the Valley does help out a little bit. So you get a little bit of taste of everything. That's on the leadership side. On the membership side, one of the biggest advantages of it is especially if you're a new Scottish Rite Mason, it's a great way to, one, get involved with the group and start meeting people. Because, and I fell into this myself. I was a Scottish Rite Mason for, about a year and a half or 2 years before I ever even attended a meeting. Just kind of intimidating. The Valley encompasses such a large area. You're not going to know but maybe a couple of people there. If maybe 1 or 2 people from your lodge happen to show up, and then you got all these different color hats and all these different jewels and all these titles. I mean, if you're a new Mason or especially a new Scottish Rite Mason, it can be a little bit intimidating. But KSA gives you a group to belong to, and we have our own regalia. And so now you get to wear a different hat or stand out a little bit differently. And so it's just, in my opinion, it's a great way to build confidence, right, to get plugged in, start meeting people in the Valley, but doing it from the comfort of having a group, somebody that you can sit with during the meal because you're one of them. I contribute my involvement in the KSA is, if I had to guess, if you say, hey, what's one reason why you were elected to receive the honor KCCH, it would be my involvement in Knights of St. Andrew. If in my opinion, if I was asked, that would be it, because we do a lot of work and we do it for the right reason, because we care about the Valley. We care about the quality of the degrees for the Valley, because KSA does ritual, they do wardrobe, they do sound, they do lighting, they do stage props. And every single member of KSA is involved in the reunion in some facet or another. So, we care about the quality of work that comes out of there. We take that as a matter of pride. Whenever there's an event there, we are always there representing, KSA. We care that people show up. We care that they have a good time. We care that they're taken care of. So, when we don't do it because we're hoping to get honored, we do it because that's our job. Our job is to serve. And I would recommend to anybody who's a new Scottish Rite Mason or even consider Rite Mason, if you do, get involved with the Knights of St. Andrew, go to work with them, and you will learn. You'll learn a lot about your Valley. You'll learn a lot about your membership, and it'll be a place that you'd be comfortable going.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the Robert Burns dinner really briefly there. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I've been to one, but not everybody has.
Yeah, absolutely. Robert Burns dinner is a dinner that's held every year. Birthday, which Robert Burns' birthday is in late January. So I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but usually a Burns dinner happens somewhere around mid-January or early February. And for those who don't know who Robert Burns is arguably the most famous Scotsman. Okay, he was a Scottish Mason and a poet. He wrote a lot of poems and a lot of songs. His most famous one is probably Auld Lang Syne. which is the famous New Year's song. So we celebrate his life because Robert Burns died a young man. And he led in his short life a very extravagant life, a life of, shall we say, good times. He enjoyed a taste of the barrel as well as a taste of the fairer sex. He had many illegitimate children and quite the drinking habit. But he was a fun-loving guy, and he did die at a young age. So him being a Mason and a Scotsman, it is kind of traditional for the Knights of St. Andrew's group to have a Robert Burns supper. And at this supper, the basic outline is just to celebrate his life, drink scotch, eat haggis. That's pretty much the long and the short of it. It's a tremendous event. It's a lot of fun. Fort Worth does a good Burns dinner. Dallas does an exceptional Burns dinner. I attend theirs every year, and it is an exceptional dinner. If you have the opportunity, highly recommend it. But essentially, it's just one night.
To the Dallas one sometime.
Yeah,
I went to the Fort Worth one, and I was in love with it. It was great.
Well, me and a group will be going with Dallas this year. If you want to tag along, more than welcome.
Absolutely.
But the Robert Burns dinner is just a way to get Masons and non-Masons, because it's open to anybody. Masons, wives, friends. We ask no children. I'm not going to kick anybody's kids out, but there is.
I will.
There is alcohol flowing. We're talking about Robert Burns, who was a little bit, shall we say, risque in his life and delivery. So we celebrate these things. It's also, I didn't mention, it coincides with a silent auction. We always have a big silent auction, and all that money goes to the Scottish Rite Hospital. It's a big fundraiser for the hospital. I believe this past year, our Burns supper raised almost $8,000 just off the silent auction. So we do a good job. But it's a great event. My event this year was full. We had probably as many non-Masons as Masons, and everybody just had a great time. So I will keep everybody posted as the event this year happens. In fact, for those listening to this podcast, I can Fort Worth's Robert Burns dinner this year is going to be February the 3rd of 2018. So,
you heard it here first, folks.
That's right. February the 3rd, 2018 at the Fort Worth Temple. So it'll be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody ever has any questions about a Burns dinner, I love talking about it. It's one of my favorite events. So just let me know.
That is awesome.
So one more question before we wrap it up. You had mentioned earlier, Vice President of the MWSA?
Soon to be Vice President. We will have our elections in July. I say elections. It is a progressive thing. It's a 4-man line. So it goes President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer. And then the only position that we elect is the Treasurer, because everybody just moves up. It's a progressive line. So I will be the Vice President of MWSA come July. I'm the current Secretary of the 64th District MWSA.
Gotcha. So first, could you tell us what MWSA stands for, what they do, and how they support lodges and that kind of thing?
Be happy to. MWSA stands for Masters, Wardens, and Secretaries Association. So in order to be a member of the MWSA, you have to be a current master, junior past master, senior, junior warden, or secretary to be an active voting member. Now, for a lodge to support the MWSA, they pay a fee, which I believe is $50. It's a yearly fee of $50 to the MWSA. We send out an invoice. It's completely voluntary. We ask for your support. It is not required. I believe all but 4 lodges in the 64th District this year contributed to the MWSA. So it's not required, but if your lodge does participate, we appreciate it. Anybody can attend. It's an open meetings that we have, wives, friends, anybody. It's completely open. But as far as voting goes, voting is reserved for the 4 officers and all current worshipful masters, junior past masters, junior senior wardens, and secretaries. Okay, so there's a brief synopsis of what it is in structure. What does it do? Well, the thing that it does most visibly is the MWSA is responsible for the stock show booth every year. We are the ones that procure and see that it's manned by other lodges. So that's the biggest public thing that the MWSA does. What does it do for the individuals? Well, the MWSA was designed to be kind of like a sounding board for masters, wardens, and secretaries to get together, talk about things that are going on in their lodge, ideas that other lodges have in the district, and kind of be a place where they can come together and talk about possibly issues or projects they want to work together on. It was just supposed to be, like I said, a sounding board for lodges. And not just for all the members to get together and just start crossfiring conversation, but for lack of a better term, the principal members of the lodge, the ones who are in charge.
Yeah.
You know, your master, your wardens, and your secretary. It's a way for those guys and all the different officers of the district to get together and say, okay, you know, what's an issue maybe you're having with your lodge? I had the same issue last year. Or, you know, it's just a way for people to get together on the level and talk about different things in the district. Usually our meetings coincide with a program. So we'll have a guest speaker. We'll always have a dinner beforehand, and it travels. So we have it at different lodges. The most recent MWSA meeting was held at Tarrant Lodge, if I'm remembering correctly. And then prior to that, it was at Webb Lodge. So it travels. We only meet quarterly. The 14th district, which is Dallas, the 14th district MWSA, they meet monthly. We think that's a little much. Last thing most of us need is another meeting to go to. So we traditionally meet quarterly. And for those listening to this podcast, the next meeting of the 64th District MWSA will be, I have it on here for July 23rd.
Sweet. Does it say where?
Oh, sweet. Hold on a second. Hold on. I see what I did wrong here. Okay. I'm sorry. July the 24th. Okay. July the 24th at 6 o'clock. It is going to be at Tabernacle Lodge. And this will be our election of officers and installation of officers. So if you are a Mason in the 64th District, you are welcome to attend this meeting. If you are a master or secretary of the 64th District, I highly encourage you to attend this meeting. And if you have any interest in serving as an officer for the MWSA, let me know, because we'll have a nomination open for the treasurer, which is the fourth position in the line. So if you have any interest in serving the district, the only requirement is that you have to be a current master, warden, secretary, or junior past master.
How about it, Grant? Jump in.
Let me get my hands around where I'm at, man.
Junior warden's a great place to start.
I'm telling you, I'm excited about junior warden, but after talking with Brad, I am 100% going after Grand Lodge Law and getting ready for it. You know, so that's where I'm at, gentlemen. Maybe we can get Rhit up there, get him in an office up there.
Whoa. No. No, I do see the MWSA and the Masonic Service Bureau as two of our most underutilized. But at the same time, we have to build from the bottom up in a sense like that, to where, you know, our lodge has just gotten in a position to where maybe we can send it an ambassador on through. But if you weren't an officer in our lodge, you were part of a committee that had to be at stated meeting or here, to where we just couldn't get you down there, or we had a degree going on. Now we should start getting into that kind of stuff, as all lodges should, as they have. So what do we got at the end of the podcast, Gabe? I know this has been a great one, but
events. Yes, we do. In statewide events, somewhere near you, a lodge is having an installation. Maybe a chapter or a council, too. If you're a member of a lodge or if you're just near a lodge, go find them. Go visit. Showing your support makes a real difference. It's cool to see new faces. It's cool to see old faces. And it's cool to see faces you see on the regular. So go find lodges that are having installations near you and attend them. So in Plano, Brother Carl Crayer from the Masonic Education and Service Committee is holding a Briscoe workshop, and that'll be on Wednesday, August 16th at Plano Lodge 768 in Plano, Texas. Dinner is at 6 and the program is at 7. In Galveston, Galveston Scottish Rite is celebrating their 150th anniversary on October 7th. So please check out their website at galvestonscottishrite.org for tickets. Guests will be staying at the Doubletree on Seawall. Tours of the cathedral will be held on the afternoon of the 7th, and on the evening of the 7th, a black tie dinner will be held. Dinner tickets are $90 if you get them before September. In local events, Webb Lodge 1454 will be having their officer installation on Saturday, July 1st at 10 a.m. Most Worshipful Grand Master Jerry Kirby will be the installing officer, and lunch will follow shortly afterwards. Find them at 7000 Zufelt Drive in Arlington, Texas. Stockyard Lodge 1244 will also be having their installation on Saturday, July 1st at 10 a.m. Right Worshipful Past Grand Master Donnie Broughton will be installing. So, you see here, there's 2 conflicting lodges, 2 different times. Pick one, whichever one's closest to your home, or maybe whichever one you know more guys at. Just pick one. Or maybe there's another installation that's happening at the same time or somewhere nearby. There's a lot of things going on, guys. So, show up, make a show of force, and support everybody. So, in temple news, or events, shall I say, Texas Council 321 will be conferring the Royal Master and Select Master degrees on Wednesday, July 5th at 6:30 p.m. If you are a companion of the Cryptic Council, please join us. It's always a blast, and I love those degrees. Sends chills down my spine. Good stuff. And as always, Fort Worth Lodge 148 meets on the second Monday of each month, starting dinner at 6 p.m. for a 7 p.m. stated meeting at 1100 Henderson Street, Fort Worth, Texas. If you want to visit us online, you can find us at www.fortworth148.org or at Fort Worth Lodge 148 on Facebook. You can email us at info148@fortworth148.org. And if you live in the 64th District of the Grand Lodge of Texas and you want to promote an event, please reach out to them at 64th.org. That's 64th.org. All right, guys, so, the episode is coming to a close. Corey, did you want to leave us with any final thoughts of sorts?
You know what? Yeah, just one. And it's not for the group here, but for the brothers who will be listening to the podcast. If it's one thing you can really take away from this podcast or Masonry in general, is be a presence where you are and what you're doing. Whatever it is you choose to do in Masonry, just be a presence while you're doing it. Don't be looked over and don't be unheard. Okay? We tell the guys when they become masters, we give them their apron, and we say that, and maybe the purple of our fraternity may rest, right? Well, that may be the case. Some of you listening to this podcast may be given the honor of Grand Master of Masons in Texas. But regardless, no matter where your Masonic journey takes you, remember where you started. Remember the people you started with. Enjoy where you are. Look at where you're going, but enjoy where you are. Be a part of your lodge. Be a part of its culture. Be a part of its force. And you'll be rewarded for it. Not necessarily in title, but you will be rewarded. So I thank you guys for having me on today. I've enjoyed it.
It's been fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I love how our podcasts are so much better when we get smart, intelligent people on.
Yeah.
It's not just us rambling.
It's just
goodness.
We're just a weekly vacuum of IQ, right?
Yeah.
But all right, so we got some final thoughts on that, and this week's fraternal quote is, There are two things that I want you to make up your minds to. First, that you are going to have a good time as long as you live. I have no use for the sour-faced man. And next, that you are going to do something worthwhile, that you are going to work hard, and do the things you set out to do. And that quote is by Brother President Theodore Roosevelt in a Christmas time to some school children at Oyster Bay.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I thought that was very fitting, given that, Corey, you said one of your goals was to have fun this year and all this stuff. And I said, man, I'm really glad I picked that quote because it kind of works.
But you know what, guys? I'll keep y'all all informed of what's going on because I would love for y'all to participate with us this year. I mean, with a lot of the events, the events will take us to we'll do some winery tours, some brewery tours, just restaurant dinners, and they won't be lodge exclusive. If y'all are into that kind of stuff, we'd be happy to have you. Just kind of broaden the scope of Masonry a little bit.
All right, boys. It has been one heck of a good podcast. Corey, thanks again for coming on. We're going to have you back on for sure, so get ready.
Anytime, guys. I really enjoyed it. Anytime. I appreciate it.
This is Rhit Moore signing off.
Grant Gates signing off.
Gabriel Jagush signing off.
Corey Harris signing off.